Welcome back to our Bible for Kids channel. Let's continue the exciting journey through the Old Testament. Last time, we saw how God sent powerful plagues to Egypt, demonstrating his might and preparing his people, the Israelites, for freedom. Pharaoh's stubbornness led to more signs of God's power. And finally, the Israelites were set free to begin their journey to the Promised Land. Today, we'll explore a very special moment in the Israelites' journey. When God made a covenant with his people, a promise that would guide them forever. After the Israelites left Egypt, they traveled to the foot of Mount Sinai. The mountain was huge and covered in clouds, and smoke rose from its peak like fire. Lightning flashed, thunder roared, and the sound of God's voice echoed across the land. God told Moses to gather all the leaders and the people. Moses obeyed, calling together 70 of the elders, the leaders of Israel. These were wise men who would help guide the people in God's ways. Moses explained everything God had said, and all the commands that the people were to follow. Then the people said together, "All that the Lord has spoken, we will do." They promised to obey God's commands and follow him faithfully. God's heart was happy because his people wanted to trust and honor him. God told Moses to take the people up the mountain, but only he could go higher to meet with God himself. God's plan was to give Moses instructions and laws that would help the Israelites live rightly and remain his people. Moses, along with Aaron, his brother, and the elders, went up the mountain. The sight was amazing. The mountain was wrapped in smoke, and the glory of God shone like lightning. Even though it was scary and bright, the people on the ground could see that something miraculous was happening. God spoke to Moses and said, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Now I am making a covenant with you, a promise between me and my people." Moses built an altar at the foot of the mountain. He arranged 12 stone pillars, one for each tribe of Israel. Then he offered burnt offerings and sacrificed young bulls as a special way to honor God. He took some of the blood from the sacrifices and sprinkled it on the altar. Then he shared the blood with the people, saying, "This blood is the sign of the covenant between God and his people." The blood reminded everyone that God's promise was serious. He wanted the Israelites to obey him because he had rescued them from slavery and planned to guide them through the desert. The people promised again, "We will obey all that the Lord has commanded." Then Moses went even higher into the cloud of God's glory. The cloud was thick and bright, and lightning and thunder surrounded him. Moses stayed there for 40 days and 40 nights, listening to God and learning all his instructions for the people. God gave Moses the laws and commandments, including rules about how the Israelites were to worship him, how they were to treat each other, and how they were to live as a holy people. These were not just rules. They were a guide to help the people know God's heart and live in harmony with one another. While Moses was on the mountain, he didn't eat or drink anything. He was fully focused on God and his plan for his people. God showed Moses his glory, and Moses could see the greatness, love, and holiness of God. It was so amazing that Moses could not look directly at God for long. God's glory was like a shining light that filled the mountain. God promised Moses that if the people obeyed him, he would bless them. They would have a land of their own, a place to live safely, and they would be known as his chosen people. Moses wrote down everything God told him, so the people would remember it and teach it to their children. This was the beginning of a long-lasting promise, God's covenant, that would guide the Israelites for generations. Meanwhile, the people below the mountain waited anxiously. They saw the smoke, the fire, and the lightning, and they were amazed. Some were scared because the sounds were loud, and the sight was powerful. God wanted his people to learn an important lesson. Trusting him means listening to his guidance, even when we don't understand everything. Through this covenant, the Israelites saw that God is not only powerful, but he is loving, caring, and faithful. He wanted them to live in a way that honored him and each other. This covenant was more than just rules. It was God's promise of protection, guidance, and blessing. He promised to be with them always, even when they faced challenges in the desert. God also showed that there is a plan for every person. Just like he guided the Israelites, he guides each of us when we trust him. Every step we take can be part of his perfect plan. The people of Israel were amazed and grateful. They saw that God's love is bigger than anything they had ever known. Bigger than slavery, fear, or even the mountains around them. From this story, children can learn many important lessons. God keeps his promises. He made a covenant with his people, and he is faithful. Obedience matters. When we follow God's guidance, we receive his blessings. Trust brings courage. Even in scary moments, God is with us. God is both powerful and loving. He cares for his people while showing his greatness. Just as the Israelites had a covenant with God, we too can live in God's care and follow his word. We can trust him every day and know that he has a plan for us. Even when life feels uncertain, Moses showed incredible courage and dedication. He went up the mountain to meet with God, listened carefully, and obeyed everything God told him. Children, we can learn from Moses that listening to God is important. Obedience brings blessings. Faith means trusting God even when things are hard. God's covenant with Israel reminds us that he is always near, watching over us and helping us grow in faith and love. As we finish today's story, remember this. God made a special promise to his people, and he always keeps his promises. He wants us to trust him, follow his guidance, and live in his love. Just like Moses, we can take time to pray, listen, and obey. And just like the Israelites, we can learn that God's plans are always perfect, even when we cannot see the whole picture. God's covenant is a reminder that he is powerful, he is faithful, he loves his people, and he invites us to be part of his family, learning and growing with him every day. Next time, we'll continue the journey through the desert, see how God guides his people, and learn even more about his amazing promises. Remember, trust God, obey his word, and watch his blessings unfold. See you next time.